Hello, everyone. I'm Dara Bunjon. I am the food enthusiast here at J Moore Living. If it's your first time tuning in, I'm a food writer, food stylist, PR maven, and a dairy frustrated baker. Um, I invite you to dig into our archives, and we have all our shows on Facebook, J Moore Living page, and the website, jmooreliving.com. Take the shows for your walks, your runs, your drives. There's some great guests and great comments that have gone down in history from these shows. Today, I want to welcome writer, humorist, chef, recipe developer, mom of two sons, mom of four cats. She has written for the Washington Post, Bon Appetit, Food and Wine, Serious Eats. She's been seen on the Food Network, Cooking Channel, and VH1. She's an author of 3 books, resides here in Baltimore, and I want to welcome her back. Hi, Allison.
Hi, Dara. Good to see you again. It's always good to see you.
It's good to see you. So what's on your plate today?
Wait, you mean literally or metaphorically?
Both.
Both. Well, literally, I'm on my second cup of coffee. That's about it. That's all I've had today is coffee. I'll remember to eat later. Thank you for reminding me. And then usually I'm getting ready for holiday season at the Takeout, which is my full-time job, takeout.com. Come visit me. But I always joke that the holidays are like my Super Bowl. Like I get all these like crazy ideas like for recipes and I want something like really kind of like fun themed, amazing. So like my first year at the Takeout, I did Snacksgiving where I turned everything into appetizers like turkey nachos, stuffing pigs in a blanket. It was awesome. And then last year, and then for Christmas and Hanukkah that year, I made a poo-poo platter that mixed Chinese food and Jewish food. So we had like noodle kugel egg rolls and what was it, like lox and bagel crab rangoons. It was awesome. And this year, I'm not going to tell you what it is yet, but there's really, really, really cool stuff happening. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm super stoked about that.
Right. I'm sitting here and I have to get up here. Hang on for a second. Here
It's
we go. I have to click on something here. Come on. There you go. This is just so I can see the questions coming in.
Oh.
And all right, Jeffrey. Stuffing pigs in a blanket sounds delicious. That's from Jeffrey.
It is. Go to the takeout.com and just search up stuffing pigs in a blanket. It'll come up. They're awesome.
Do you know what today is?
I have no idea what date it is. I was at the doctor's office before. I had to ask somebody what year it was to like fill out a form. Yeah,
today
I got to eat this morning. So yeah, no, I don't know what day it is.
Today is National Chocolate Day.
Oh, I don't celebrate the food holiday. No, I mean I do occasionally celebrate Lobster Thermidor Day in January, but like I mean. They're all bullshit. Like, why do I need a chocolate day? Like, what is this? How is this different than last night when I ate like half of the cake with a spoon just because? Like, I don't need a day to tell me to do these things.
It's like Passover. Why is this night different than all other nights?
Yeah, okay. Exactly. And I mean, it's chocolate. It's not like I'm not eating all the freaking time. It's like what today? It's like, oh, you know what? It's okay today. You have an excuse because it's a holiday. Like, okay, fine.
All right. So, what's your favorite chocolate dessert?
My favorite chocolate dessert. I love cake. I love chocolate pudding. That's my thing. Pudding is bar none my favorite dessert. I will eat custard pudding anytime. So yeah, chocolate pudding, I'll say.
Well, mine is a eclair, and I've been known. I was somewhere with a friend, and I got these eclairs. She says, "Oh, I can't wait to taste that." I said to the guy, "Give me 2. I wasn't going to share it." But I love chocolate cream pie, and you did an amazing recipe for the Washington Post of chocolate cream pie, and I redid it, and it was yum. My only problem during COVID when I baked, I had no one else to eat it. I was like, I didn't want to throw it away.
Yeah. This is the best worst part like of my job because you know, I can only eat so much and I can only let my husband and kids eat so much because sometimes I'll like be testing a cake like 4 or 5 times. And all of my neighbors are like health nuts and like, or won't like one's kosher. So nobody, so I have all this food and I get commenters like, oh my God, everybody's eat so well. I'm like, it's all sitting here like going, you know, going away, please. I don't know how to get rid of all this food. So I ate most of it during quarantine. And yeah, it's in different parts of my body right now, which is okay because we're getting into winter and it's going to get cold and I need the insulation. So I'll worry about it in the spring.
You're covered for the winter months.
Exactly.
Okay. Last year when you were on the show, we were in the studio.
Yep.
And things changed for you because you were going to go to Chicago.
Yep.
So,
and they didn't. Like my job's based out of there, but my husband had a job at the time. But then the pandemic happened, so he wasn't with that company anymore. And he is one of the people who's decided to change careers entirely during the pandemic. So, which is great because I love Baltimore and my kids, like I wanted Toby to finish middle school here. And, you know, I don't know what the future holds. This is something I actually spoke to people about before the pandemic. And I've learned in my life, just don't make any sort of plans whatsoever because plans are total bullshit. You have no control over the universe. Stuff's going to come at you and you just have to kind of deal with it. So what is my plan? I don't know. Something crazy could happen tomorrow. I could end up moving to like Siberia or whatever. I don't know. Baltimore can be in flames. Seas will rise. Bear attacks everywhere. We'll have to flee into the woods, live off the land.
You know, I saw a post on your Facebook. You being a chef, people didn't know that you had a bakery in New York. Your son, somebody started talking about picky eaters. And I know one son, a friend of mine, their son, when they were growing up, only ate cereal.
Yeah. Yeah, we got, they're 13 and 14. Why did I have to think about that? Thank God the youngins aren't on Facebook. So my kids will have no idea how I forgot that. The 14-year-old is now really interested. Like he's a really adventurous eater. He likes cooking a lot. And he's actually apologized to me many times. He's like, I was so stupid back then. And I'm like, this is what like kept me going like through the tough times. I'm just like, one day they're going to see like they had me and Matt and they blew it. And that's just going to feel good. So he's admitting it. It's incredible. But the 13-year-old is still picky as hell. And I have learned to, I'm like, if you're alive and you're not sick, that's fine. I just have to keep you alive. What kids will do, this is how you get your kids to stop being a picky eater. You send them to their friends' houses. And if the friends are good eaters, they're going to want to fit in. They don't care about you. They care about their friends. So they go out, they have more friends, they eat better.
I'm very intrigued with the Great British Bake Off or baking show.
Baking show, yes.
Yes, the name had to change because it feels very Bake Off.
Mm-hmm.
And you have been, I don't know how long you've been doing it, but you've been writing recaps of episodes. And we have the new season. Netflix calls it season 9, but it's actually season 12 by Britain. You write for the Takeout.com the funniest recaps of this show. And why don't you explain the show to somebody who's listening who maybe hasn't watched it?
When I started writing recaps of the show, it was on PBS, and it was like this sort of, it was a very kind of cult thing. It was a word of mouth thing. And all people knew was like, it was just really, really nice. And, you know, American TV, reality TV, it's garbage. I can't watch it. And it's people like backstabbing and everyone's in competition. And they're like, but this thing in England, like everybody's really polite and they help each other and everyone's so nice. So this was back in the Mary Berry days. And it was the most charming freaking show I've ever seen in my damn life. So I started writing about it for Food 52. And I'm a humorist, so it was just kind of funny. And then the show left the BBC and it went to kind of for-profit television. And it became it's this global phenomenon. It's not like this cute niche show. So it's gotten exponentially more ridiculous as every year went on. Like the first season, it was like, bake a chocolate cake, bake a loaf cake. And like this season, the challenges were like bake a gravity-defying inverted cake, like build a cake that looks like a celebrity's head, build like a 5-story pie. Like some guy had a motorized thing this year, like a sculpture, and his cookies were flying around on a motor. It's gone completely off the rails, and I love it because it's still that civility, but it's just like, this is jump the shark. Let's go along for the ride.
Well, I think in the show that everybody's in this tent, and it's created somebody that we never heard of here in the States, Paul Hollywood.
Paul Hollywood. Yeah. I mean, these were, okay, so Paul Hollywood was kind of known over there, but it's the crossover thing. He's an international star now. And then Mary Berry, who left the show, she was like a respected British food writer and like newspaper person for years. I guess maybe I don't know, who would you compare her to? Like a Mimi Sheridan type, maybe, but
maybe. I thought that she was a baker too.
Yeah. She was just like somebody old and established and like a grand type. And then when she left, Prue took over, and she was a restaurateur. She's South African, but moved there when she was young. She's a dame of the British Empire. So these are fancy, snooty British people that now are world famous. And it's so much fun to make fun of them. It really is. Like, I love the contestants. I will always side with the contestants because I've been a baker. I've cooked on TV. Cooking on TV is nothing like cooking at home. And they're doing the best they can. Like, I'll never make fun of somebody. Like, I don't like punching down. I'd never do that. But I'm fine with punching down if you are, like Paul freaking Hollywood. Like you punch up. So Paul's getting it. Prue is getting it, but everybody else is just like, it's silly, it's fun, it's farcical, it's a good time, and there's chocolate involved for National Chocolate Day.
Right.
There we go. Brought in full circle.
Right. Everybody is on Netflix right now, and there are contestants right now. Jürgen. Yes. Amanda's left, and she was a detective, though Christelle Freya just left, who was a young girl who baked vegan.
Mm-hmm. She did phenomenally.
Yeah, but I have to say, she sounded like an English Valley girl.
I loved her voice so much, and like, part of me just was hoping she'd make it all the way just so I could listen to her and the things she says. Like, yeah, she was like a 19-year-old, like, she was sweet, but like, she kind of had like that, like how Kristen Stewart was always like kind of looking miserable and adored her. And she was 19, like, again, I baked professionally. I've been cooking for like, I've probably been baking since I was 13. So a long, long time. I can't make some of the stuff they're making, like a gravity-defying cake. I want none of that. None of that.
They have to, I was just reading something. For the show, there are at least 12,000 applicants per season.
Mm-hmm.
And they have to go through many interviews. They have on the show, folks, if you didn't know about it, there's a signature bake, a technical challenge, and a showstopper. They have to submit the signature bake and the showstopper in advance. Yeah. But they don't know what the technical challenge is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go to this week, which was German week, which was everybody's going, well, Jürgen's there from the Black Forest. He's got an advantage, yada, yada, yada. The technical challenge, and I'm not pronouncing this right. Where did I have it? Präsidententort.
It was a Regent Prince Tort. It's in the English translation. It's a Regent Prince Tort. It's beautiful.
Okay, I did enough. Okay, so everyone, it's a multi-layer cake, like 7-8 layers. It has cream in between the layers, and it has the chocolate icing. I'm looking at that and going, that's a Smith Island cake.
Yep. I mean, it's like I found a recipe for an Icelandic cake the other day that looks like Smith Island cake too. It's awesome. Like I'll never not be a fan of a cake that's got like 1,000 layers on the inside, but I'm not making it. That's something for somebody else to make. And it's always kind of interesting that there are so many applicants. Like you can't be a bad baker and get on that show. Okay. They go through all sorts of interviews and tests and trials. You are a good baker if you end up on this show. So these people, if there's stuff wrong, it's nerves and panic. I completely get that. But the technical challenges have gotten just so freaking insane. Like in the beginning of the show, it was like, show us you know how to make a scone from a recipe. Show us you can do this if we give you a recipe. You know, it was about executing recipes. And now the recipes are like, you know, stir, flour, bake, that's it. And then you just like have to guess. It is literally like just for torturous purposes. The fact that they can do anything recognizable during that round, I am impressed. But it is sadistic. It has just become sadistic.
Well, Maggie, who is the senior, every year there's always a senior person. There's always someone with an Indian background. There's always somebody under 20. There is always somebody who's artsy. They seem to have categories that they fill.
That's TV.
But Maggie, who's 70, they had this torch. Mm-hmm. No, it was the week before. Whatever the recipe was, she forgot that there was no flour. She didn't see it.
Yep.
I just sat there and went, I mean, I couldn't do it, but the contestants can bring their own equipment. Mm-hmm. They can, request specific ingredients if they'd like to work with.
Yep.
I don't know how they do it. I would be freaking, and then they're required to do at least 10 interviews during the show.
Yeah, I was on Chopped like 10, 11 years ago or something. I can't remember. But to get those tiny little snippets, we were there from like 5 a.m. to midnight. These are not like non-working days. You are practicing, and they know the signature and the showstopper long before they even come to the tent and they start the show. Before the quarantine, everybody got to stay home. Like they only filmed the show on the weekends before they condensed it all into a bubble. So people would go to work during the week and be at home and practice baking and come to the tent to compete the 2 days on the weekends. So they have rehearsed these things several times. They know what they're doing, but then real life happens or, things go wrong.
It's hot.
Yeah. Well, oh my God, it's always summer and they're in a tent with like no air conditioning. If you've ever been under film lights on set lights, they're 1,000 degrees. These are the worst possible scenarios, the worst possible conditions, and they are building at things to fail, and you just need to accept that at this point. It's like this is what it is, and we're on the ride. It's not the contestants' fault, it's the show around it. It's ridiculous, and I love it.
Right. Well, this year, the first episode, they do these really not so funny, what they think is funny intros. They have 2 comedian guest hosts, and this season kicked off with all of them wearing mullets with hay bales.
Oh, yes.
And crew sitting at the keyboards and mullets singing this country song that talks about baking. And yeah. I just went, oh, come on.
It was like, okay, so when I do the recaps, I'll end up watching the show sometimes like 3-4 times, like that, rewinding and stuff. And that intro becomes more and more brilliant the more you watch it. Because from like knowing Noel Fielding, like I'm a big fan of his comedy. If you're not familiar with his comedy, like he is brilliant. So is Matt Lucas. And you could just see them like, this is going to make people angry. And sometimes I know as a humorist, and just as a person on the internet, like sometimes we just do things to make people angry because it's funny. So it'd be like, people are going to hate this. And, when you look at it like that, it just gets funnier and funnier. Yeah, I absolutely love it. And they've gotten these intros used to be kind of groan inducing earlier in the show, but they've gotten spectacularly deranged. I just adore it. At least one of those is always on some sort of alternative substances, if you will, during those intros, if not both.
That's not Paul and crew, but
I don't know. That show, there's a lot of layers to that show. A lot of layers.
A lot of layers. So everyone, before I forget, to read what Allison's doing, the best place to find her is the takeout.com. And the recaps are there along with other things, and you will see her name in the Washington Post and all the recipes that she develops. And she's also quite brilliant historian. When she moved to Baltimore, she wrote a book.
I did.
111 places in Baltimore that you must visit.
Yeah.
I basically grew up here. I came here when I was 3 months old, and maybe I knew 5 of them. I mean, you really went into research and finding these places.
Yeah, that was I did that because I wanted to push myself to do something I'd never done before. I've always been a food and comedy writer, and you know what? I love history. I'm a huge history nerd. If anybody's ever hung out with me, you've heard long rambling stories that nobody's interested in, but I think are brilliant. And yeah, getting to write about it in a city that I had just moved to and was exploring, and it was like a big treasure hunt. And a lot of the places in that book, sadly aren't around anymore. The pandemic really did a toll on this city, and a lot of other stuff. But some of the stuff, like the history stuff, it's remarkable. I mean, if you like American history, you cannot miss. You have to come to Baltimore at least once in your life. It's unbelievable.
Please come to Baltimore, people. It's not all that you see on HBO.
No. I mean, again, I grew up in Brooklyn. I grew up in New York City. It was like that. There's places like that all over the country. Yes, we have problems, but I mean, I've been here 5 years now. And again, I grew up in New York City, only place I ever lived. I love it down here. I love this city, And
we're lucky to have you.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
You're one of my favorite people. I tune in. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Because you say things I don't have the guts to say.
People always say that about me, but I don't know. I'm no a strange person. I know I've never been with everybody else, but I just I don't have the time or the patience. People are gonna pussyfoot around stuff, and I'm let's just get over with it. Just go. There's some things we don't say. Let's just be honest and stop wasting everybody's time.
So before I forget it, who do we think the final 3 are going to be in the Great Bake Off? I know who I think.
All right. Now, here's the thing. We always think we know, but then something crazy will happen, and they'll throw us a wild card. Jurgen right now, everybody thinks is going to win, which means I absolutely believe Jurgen will not win. He is not going to win. He is going to go home right before the final. Either him or Giuseppe will go. I feel like Chigs is gonna win.
Really?
I have a feeling because he's the winner for the past couple of seasons hasn't been the best at everything. The star baker, the best star baker almost never wins. It's the person who's just consistent enough. They're great, but they're not star baker every week. If Jurgen wasn't there, Chigs would have had a lot more star bakers. I think it's gonna be him, maybe Christelle, but I think Chigs is my favorite for the win.
Do you think Giuseppe's gonna fall out?
Giuseppe should. If this was my personal thing, Lizzie, it's Lizzie, Giuseppe, and Jurgen in the final. Lizzie, because I will die for this woman. I don't care. She can fail every other challenge. I still want her in the final. She's my favorite contestant ever.
The Liverpool accent is amazing.
She reminds, what we just said about me. She reminds me of me. Just somebody who says it like this. She's one of my people, and I love her. And she's a fantastic baker too. I'm so used to people that I like sucking, but I'm yeah, you're freaking backing it up. You're really good at this. So she could shot. So that would be in a perfect role, but because that's what I want, I see it's going to be Chigs, Christelle, and maybe Giuseppe. Who knows? It's at the whims of the producers and how sadistic they'd like to be to us.
Right. Okay. I'm going to go off subject and sort of wrap up here because I know time is valuable.
Yes.
What advice would you give to your 18-year-old self if you could go back to?
God, why are you making me think about this? Oh God, I have so many things to say. Like, the older that you get, the more you realize like how fucking stupid you were at every point of your life. Like, I'm 41 and I look at myself at 40 and I'm like, oh, come on. Like, better every year. That's the goal. I'm going to be much better as a person next year than I will this year. So 18, everything was a mess. All of it. All of it. Yes.
So there wouldn't be one piece of advice. It would be just find a way.
I'm like, I don't know even where to start with that question. There is so much to go over.
All right. Do you hoard anything other than cats?
Cats were an accident, as they always are. But I'm trying to, I don't really hoard. Like, I've gotten to a point where I just don't want things. Like, I've cleaned out I used to hoard books, and I've gotten, I think, rid of 90% of them at least. I'm trying to get rid of everything I own. Like, I want to be as minimalist as possible, which I don't know is possible because the stuff that I have in my house seems to be just like reproducing. I keep getting rid of it. And then like 6 other things take its place. Probably the kids and the cats have something to do with this. But yeah, I'm not hoarding anything anymore. Nothing. I want it all out of here.
Okay.
The more stuff you have to clean. This is what people like, you're always shooting yourself in the foot. If you don't want to spend your weekends cleaning, just don't own anything. Hint, move to the woods. You can't clean the woods. It's already filthy.
What do you think is next for the Robicellis?
No freaking clue. Listen, every time I plan something catastrophic or bizarre or whatever happens, and we adapt. And the world is cuckoo bananas right now. And it's just going to get cuckoo bananas-ier. None of us should be making any sort of plans. Everybody should just be like, take it what comes, because everything's changing so fast, faster than we've ever known before. And it's going to keep getting faster. So we just got to, go along for the ride, baby. Just see where this crazy train takes us.
I'm on the train.
On the crazy.
All right. I might have asked you the last time you were on the show, but I'll ask again. What was your most epic culinary fail?
Oh man, I've messed up a ton of times, and it's like it's hard to pick because everybody messes up. Like you get distracted with the kids, and like last night I got distracted and I almost like burned my soup, and things happen. But one time, like 5 years ago, I got really, really stoned before I made dinner. Like usually I only smoke weed like late at night because I have back problems. So I had a really bad back that day and I smoked a little bit too much weed. And I made this dish of like boneless, skinless chicken breasts, like nothing happened to them. I think it was on rice. And I had put crab sticks in it, like artificial crab sticks, and it served for dinner. And I just threw all that stuff of it and I threw it in the oven. And then it came out later and I wasn't high anymore. I'm like, what the fuck have I done? It's just terrifying. And then I ate it and I was like, this was as bad as I expected it to be. This was such a bad decision.
Well, anything with fake imitation crab sticks.
Like, I mean, I like eating crab sticks knowing that they're not real crab. Like it's, like kind of one of those like guilty pleasure things, but you should never cook with it with boneless skinless chicken. I wouldn't even cook boneless skinless chicken breasts. Like I did nothing to them. They are my most hated meat. I don't know why I had them.
I agree with you. Dark meat.
Thighs or die.
Okay. And what question didn't I ask you that I should have?
Dara, I'm a woman who contains multitudes. Do you know how many therapists that ask questions and I've broken them all? What did you ask me? How deep do you want to go? And are you ready for it?
Yeah, Allison, it's always a pleasure. And I look forward to the day that we can see each other in person. And
Did you get your booster yet?
Pardon me?
Did you get your booster yet?
My booster's next Tuesday. So I wrote it on my calendar for the wrong day. I went up to Walgreens, waited in this long line. And she says, "You're not due here till next Tuesday."
Then you can come over and we'll eat pie and watch TV, and I'll tell you all the problems that go on in here.
Okay, and maybe I might have a solution. Who knows? You know, I'm the wise aged OG, as they call me here.
You just turn around, you're like, nope, going home. I would understand. Yeah. I mean, guys, I am locked in the house with 2 teenage boys. I spent 18 months in the house with 2 boys going through puberty. You don't know what happened to me. It was
Okay. Allison, as I'm going to sing we'll talk soon. And I'm going to wrap up with a couple of notes here about who's going to be on next week. All right, everyone. Next week, Christine Sahadi Whelan. She's written a book, Flavors of the Sun. It's gotten a lot of recognition. Sahadi's is a specialty grocer in New York that focuses on Middle Eastern ingredients. And we're going to talk about the spices and her growing up and Sahadi's. I think it's going to be a fascinating show, especially since, you know, we're always looking for new flavors. And during COVID, spices, everybody was trying new spices. So I think it's enlightening for those who like to cook. So I hope you'll tune in next week. I want to thank you for tuning in. You can reach me at food@jmoreliving.com. My social is @DaraCooks. This will be up on the J. Moore Living's Facebook page and their website almost immediately. All our shows are in archives, so dig in, enjoy the shows. We thank you for tuning in. We appreciate it when you share the show with friends and family who will appreciate the interviews that have been done. May your plates always remain full. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Have a good day.